I met these two gay guys called Eddy, and Tommy Price back in Mykonos in 1982. Sad time for me. My partner had died from AIDS, and these guys were poorly. You could tell they were poorly. It was probably one last hurrah. But you know, it was one of those nights where we just got blasted, drank loads of alcohol, threw caution to the wind, and they told me this incredible story about how they came out and about how they probably did the first kind of gay pride march of some description. They went to Blackpool, as did all the mill towns, all the mine towns every year. This was back in 1953, and they stayed at this guest house run by this very theatrical woman called Gladys and her daughter Maureen, and upstairs was Red Ethel, an ex-lesbian stripper, communist showgirl, and also the only other guest in the guest house was Mr. Elbridge, who was a cross-dresser, transvestite. In 2008, Mr. Elbridge would have been a trans woman. He had an alter ego. Well, he had three actually, but he had an alter ego called Phyllis. And the subculture was kind of on the you know, down low, that they used to come to this guest house and they'd walk from North to South Pier dressed as their female alter ego. And somehow on this particular night, two working class young guys, 19, 20 from Yorkshire, decided they would walk with Mr. Elbridge, and they would effectively hold hands, and they would come out and they would kiss in public in 1953. And Gladys and Maureen and Red Ethel, somehow they all kind of got themselves fired up that they would actually do this, and they walked from north to South Pier, and there was beer bottles thrown, insults, but they held hands, and it's quite a way to do that walk. And I feel that it's an incredibly funny play, because you know there's three generations of funny northern women with all of that goes with that. There's it's got historic gay significance, and it's true. I say it's true. It's based on a story told by three gay men drinking in Mykonos all night, but I'm going to take it that it was true, you know, and that's where the comedy came from. And now whether the alcohol was making this comedy more and more embellished as the night wore on, who cares? Who cares at the end of the day? It's an historic story, it's funny, it's true, and it's really entertaining, and I've got an amazing cast. So we're really delighted to be part of the Manchester Fringe. Skint Productions have been around Manchester for 20 years, and with scheduling, I've never been free to come to the Fringe, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm looking forward to it. We're at the Salford Arts Theatre, which is one of my favourite theatres. Always looked after there so well by Ronnie and Scott. And we're also going to go down to the 3 Minute Theatre with John and Gina. Again, two great theatres in Manchester, and I am really pleased that it's playing Manchester before it goes to New York. So if we can take on a Manchester audience, we can take on New York. Film, and I have been offered quite a lot of money for the screenplay, but I'm the champion of this story. It was told to me, and I want to control how the story is told. It's too important to me just to sell the screenplay. I mean, which is a great honour as a writer, but truthfully, I want it to be authentic. You don't get many gay themed working class stories. They all tend to be okay. We've just had God's Own Country, and we've had a few others great, which is wonderful. It's starting to develop, but truthfully, there is not much in the arena for working class gay stories, and I want to tell it right. I'm a working class, and I'm a northern, and I'm proud of it, and I want to tell it right. There's an incredible female presence in this piece. First of all, Gladys, the owner of the guest house. Eddy Corkill, when he laid his soul bare to her, he chose this more or less stranger. Well, she was a stranger. That's who he chose to bare his soul and discuss his childhood. and her mother, Red Ethel, was a lesbian, and her story alone carries such significance. In the early 20s, she run away to Russia. She was to be a communist, and so we have this wonderful marriage of a political sort of firebrand, and she was a stripper, and she was a showgirl. So we've got theatre, politics, and this story. But she has a moment in the play which is absolutely heartbreaking. She discusses how her lover, Katia, was murdered. Was taken out into the forest in the snow. She talks about the snow falling, and they shot her because she was a lesbian. And it's just a small moment, a small kind of isolated moment in the play, but it's so important because I feel that this story without the women would never have happened. The boys would never have been brave enough to do what they did, and they were enabled by the three female characters, and that's why I think you've got the trans character, you've got the gay men, but you've got these three generations of fractious, funny, up north women, and for me that's where the comedy comes, the comedy and the drama and the pathos, and Linda Clark, who people may know from that Peter Kay thing and Doctor Who, and Wendy Lawrence James, who's appeared in all my work here and in New York. They are amazing, and we've got Molly Jones, who's a young actress who is actually Wendy's daughter, strangely enough. So we have a mother and daughter playing a mother-daughter on film and stage, and I just want to give them a shout out because when people see this play and obviously this film, it has it's a strong attraction for a female audience. I think maybe that's getting a little bit lost in some of the marketing and the press. So shout out to the ladies. Connection. Gay men and straight women have this amazing marriage of acceptance. Most gay men go to a straight woman first to get that when they come out. It's kind of like the practice coming out to a degree, and that was definitely the case with Eddie. He said to me, he'd hidden his sexuality for all these years. He'd hidden the fact that he was abused by his father, a religious sort of lay preacher, and he chose this strange theatrical oddball woman to come out to, and I just think that's really poignant. The first time we were invited to the New York Fringe, which is obviously a curated event, and I did a play called A Family of Women. Writing about women is something I'm actually very passionate about. This was a play with just 5 women, set just after the war, and it was very well received, and that was at the Access Theatre as part of the New York Fringe. And then we were invited back to the New York Fringe with a musical called The Ripper's Five, which was about Jack the Ripper's 5 victims, again from the female perspective. They kind of came back to the 10 Bells as ghosts, and it was again good reviews, very very strong, great experience. And then the third and final component to the New York Fringe sort of trilogy was a play, another gay themed play set in World War II called Mrs. Darling's Bed and Board, and that sold out. And those three times in New York were thrilling. That we were invited to come. Not many British companies actually get to go, and from there I kind of opened up the relationships with Sixpence Inc. and other sort of New York-based production companies who kind of liked my work. They liked the fact that I was sort of a northern UK authentic writer. And last year we took a play called Beautiful Monster about Mary Shelley's final hours, and that played down in the East Village. And that kind of led to discussions about going uptown to the Davenport Theatre off Broadway. So we're right next to Kinky Boots, we're right on Times Square, the Buzz is building, and we're literally going from the GM Fringe to off Broadway.